Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Oh, man. Do you guys follow this account, Pro Football Rumors?
Oh, yeah.
Twitter?
I don't know if I follow it, but it always just pops up, I think, from retweets or from people suggesting I should.
It is football drugs this time of year. It's
Reckless speculation.
I think they're just aggregating stuff, but there's like they have a thing here that Tom Brady has contacted Matthew Stafford on the Raiders' behalf. That's the newest thing from 2 minutes ago. So this is going to be, the rest of this week is going to keep getting progressively more filled with juicy rumors and reporting. There's a couple developments on the Sam Darnold front that we will get to after the Write That Down predictions. We also have a bonus Purple Daily NFL Takes episode coming out today because we just can't contain ourselves. But before we get to Write That Down, before we hold each other accountable, let's start the show off at Quick Trip. Let's fuel up before this big Wednesday show here, Judd.
Most definitely. And you know what? When you stop at Quick Trip, here's what I can guarantee you. I can guarantee you that you're going to be satisfied because when you stop there, just check out all of the delicious food available. Let's say that you're driving to work and you forgot to pick up some lunch. Well, guess what? Quick Trip has you covered with everything that you could possibly want. And now you're saying, well, Sports Dad, this sounds like a grocery store. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a grocery store, but it's all about convenience. So you could pick up a piece of pizza. You could pick up whatever you desire. And if the gas tank is on E, you can fill that sucker up. If you do not want to go in, Quick Trip's like, that's fine. Put the app on the app on the phone, and then you can order. They will bring out whatever you so desire. Quick Trip, making your life as easy as possible. You want to talk about efficient. You want to talk about first round draft picks, first overall draft picks. That's Quick Trip.
That's right. Also, Write That Down predictions are presented every Wednesday by North American Banking Company, a Minnesota-based banking company. If you are like my wife and we just kind of had a bad experience. We finally said, this big old national banking company that we used to bank with, it's not quite, we can't get a hold of a human when we need them here. And so North American Banking Company, which specializes and puts emphasis on personal relationships, cutting-edge online tools, they are here whether you are just looking for a better blocking and tackling situation with your checking and your savings, or maybe you're planning for something big like a renovation, financing a home or a car. North American Banking Company, with their 6 Twin Cities locations, can help you. Maple Grove, Roseville, Shoreview, Hastings, Woodbury, and 50th in France. Go to nabankco.com/Mackey to learn more, or visit one of those locations I mentioned. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Write this down.
All right,
Write
boys.
it down. You like writing things down.
Here's how it works. Write That Down. The only show or shows in America, if you also count the OG edition on Mackey and Judd and the Score North YouTube channel, the only show in America that actually puts statistics next to our predictions. So it's 3 Vikings or football-related predictions from everybody on the show each week. They have to be quantifiable in some way. We keep track of completion percentage and touchdowns. The season runs Super Bowl to Super Bowl. And listeners, if you want to be like Cade and jump in as a guest listener participant, you can send Declan a message through the Score North app. All right, let's start with Judd. This is a bad beat.
Oh, this is so tough.
I even went through, I watched it live, the press conference yesterday, and then I went through it again this morning.
Yeah.
18 minutes and 50 seconds. And you said Kevin O'Connell will be asked no fewer than 5 questions about Sam Darnold or the quarterback position at his combine press conference.
Yep.
It was 4.
Well, and can I just rant for a second?
Yeah.
So here's my rant. These national yahoos who get in and start to ask about, hey, let's talk about Grant Udinski, the Jacksonville OC, who you just hired. Tell me how great Grant is. And then it's like, tell me about your coaching staff. It's so big. How do you have such a big coaching staff? How do you empower people? All I wanted was another quarterback question.
Yeah, it's bad. It was 4 with 5 minutes to go, by the way, after
I know.
the JJ McCarthy VR stuff. And then they got into like, hey, you worked with this guy at San Diego back in the day. Talk about him.
Somebody got in and asked, and big footed their way to back-to-back questions
Back-to-back,
on the
yeah.
same topic,
Yeah.
and it killed me.
Also, there was a time, I think it was early. I don't know if it was Kwesi or KOC's. I think it was KOC's, where it's a mob of people. It's not really a formal press conference where they can direct and bat back and forth. And KOC just like looks around and shrugs, like who's asking this next question? Like, what are we doing here? Like, there's so many people trying to talk.
It is like who can basically yell your question the loudest, and then don't break when 4 other people jump in to just continue your loud question and hope that he answers it.
Just keep going.
So you had that one thing come off. I have nothing come off the board, but I do want to highlight how close I think we got to this one coming off the board yesterday. So I said before last season, but I did not put an end date on it. So this probably has to have a 2025 end date because, like J.J. McCarthy, if he plays, this can't stay on the board forever. But I said it'll be documented or made public that J.J. McCarthy is in the facility on a Tuesday. Well, Kevin O'Connell was asked about, hey, how do he got injured. You guys were using the VR system that Jaden Daniels used. So how do you sort of keep a guy up to speed when he's hurt? And Kevin O'Connell said, quote, whether it's that film study on a Tuesday, going through early down plan on a Wednesday, or being in that Saturday meeting where we go through the call sheet, the red pen meeting, those are all the ways, blah, 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 blah. I thought this was a confirmation of like when study film on a Tuesday, I think he was referring to them sitting in his office or sitting in the facility on Tuesdays. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't officially confirmed because he could be studying on an iPad from his apartment or something.
Right.
So we're getting closer. We're getting closer to this one coming off the board.
Yeah, I feel like KOC is more and more starting to like talk about Tuesdays. So
didn't he brought it up on like a radio show, I feel like, this week too?
Yeah, I feel like you're going to get there, but it's probably going to take confirmation in season too. Because like that's the day off. So like I feel like it's going to come in season.
Okay.
Days off and he's not taking the day off. He's working on Tuesdays.
I can be patient with this one. Okay, listeners had nothing come off the board, so we'll highlight this one. Jay, many, many years ago, this was from I think this is from 2021. It's one of the oldest predictions on the board here for Purple Daily. Write that down.
Wow.
And Jay said when Trey Lance signs his second contract, it'll be no more than a league average starting quarterback contract. Trey Lance is going to be lucky to get a second contract in the NFL, so we can pretty well take this off the board soon.
Yeah, Jay's going to hit this one. I bet he does get. I bet he gets a contract, and it'll be a backup, and it'll be a very low contract.
And then old Dex, you had this one come off the board. You said Kwesi would use a great question or great point compliment on the first question he's asked at the combine. He'll just acknowledge that it was a good question. He did not.
Yeah, he did not. No, I think he squeezed one in near the end that he said that's a great question or point. But yeah, not on the first one.
His usual, I'll say this, Kwesi almost always says good or great question. I feel like it's rarely to the first question.
He wants you to earn it with that
second
or third question.
I feel like he unleashes it usually. Like if we were to break down when he ordinarily says that, I feel like it's ordinarily halfway through or so.
Yeah. He's got a pattern. So it's early in the season here, and the listeners to this point are perfect in their completion percentage. I think it's just 1 for 1, and then everyone else is still looking for their first completion and touchdown on the season. All-time career stats, Declan with a lead in the completion percentage department, 36.7%. Listeners with 60 touchdowns lead the touchdown category. So that's your accountability session here. We'll get to the predictions, bringing in Cade for his first ever time on Write That Down. How you doing, Cade?
Doing great, thanks.
Appreciate you coming on. Give us your background as a Vikings fan.
My family never really watched football ever, and I played soccer in high school, and my high school soccer team made us get into fantasy football in 2017. And, I was always rooting for this one running back to give me a lot of fantasy points. I had no clue what was going on, but, Jerick McKinnon, man, seems like when he gets points, I win. That's cool. And then decided I needed to find a team. I was always rooting for this guy. And then, threw on some playoff game. I was like, what are these guys doing? They're playing the Saints. So holy shit, he just caught a pass. Oh my God. And like, it was crazy. Minneapolis Miracle got me sucked in. I was like, all right, I guess I'll like the Vikings.
Wow.
There you
So
go.
where do you live? Where are you from?
Upstate New York.
Okay. Have you ever
So,
been to Minnesota?
thank you. No, I'm going in September actually for a business meeting.
Wow.
Nice.
Definitely have to stop by U.S. Bank Stadium, even if I mean, there might be, depending if you stay. We don't have a schedule yet, but there might be a game going in September that you can stick around.
I'm hoping so. We were invited out for one because they know.
That's awesome. I think it's funny because we hear stories from every single week, and we get people's background stories, and like the '98 season hooked people, and the '09. There's all these kind of common themes. You are definitely the first person to say that Jerick McKinnon hooked you on Vikings football.
Yeah.
But this is a Jerick McKinnon appreciation pod. I think
love
all of
Jerick.
us think he's one of the
Oh,
more
yeah.
under-heralded players in recent Vikings history. Love that guy.
Yeah, he was great. He's great.
And your
They could-
soccer and the fact that your soccer team got you into football is hilarious.
I know. It was great. I was like, what's this?
Amazing, man. So, all right, we're going to go around the room here. Cade, you're going to start. You'll make your first prediction. Then Judd, Declan, me will make 3 trips around the room like usual. So
Write this down.
here we go. Cade, fire away.
Awesome. Sounds good. So write this down. The Vikings are going trenches in the draft. With their first pick, they're going to draft either an offensive or defensive lineman. I was going to maybe say running back too, but my girlfriend believes Aaron Jones is holding down the fort. So offensive or
Yeah.
defensive lineman with their first pick.
Yep, I think you're probably onto that one for sure. That
Write this down.
would make some sense based on what KOC and Kwesi were saying at their press conferences yesterday too. A lot of, we know we got to get better offensive line. I mean, Kwesi, the analytical, Wall Street, not a football guy, right? He's talking about controlling the ball in these late game situations, and he's right. And then Kwesi even mentioned, hey, we're good at getting pressure on defense, but we need to be able to do it with 4 and not have to trick this thing up all the time with 5 or 6, Judd.
KOC walking back, though, his end of the season after the Rams lost, comments about changes in the interior line was hilarious.
You know
We
what?
don't have to. He's like, we're talking about like philosophy here. We don't have to make change. It's like, no, Kevin, it's okay. You could say the changes at guard at least are necessary.
But
I'm
the
cool with that.
the reporter gave him the opening to walk it back. The reporter said, you talked about changing out guys, because he never said change out guys at the end of the season. He said we need to improve our interior offensive line. And the reporter said basically like, you talked about changing out guys, and KOC bristled. He was like, I don't know if I said changing out guys. So, well, you're clearly going to change out guys.
But I'm with you on that, Kevin. That's okay. Yes, you need to change out guys. That's cool.
But don't you think, all right, not to like pick on whoever that reporter was. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't think it was a local person because they get their side sessions and like the breakfast session. But wouldn't the better way to have phrased that question to get an honest answer instead of starting with, hey, you want to get rid of guys? And he's like, I don't want to get rid of guys. I love my guys. You could have asked him, hey, you mentioned improving the interior offensive line. What are the ways in which you could do that? And would you consider signing somebody in free agency or whatever?
Yes.
Right?
Well, hell, just point to Philadelphia, right?
Yeah.
Just say, hey, it occurred to me that the Super Bowl champion had a pretty good, doggone good interior line. How about your line? So there would have been, but he can say changes. Swapping out's fine
Write
with me.
this down.
All right. The momentum on this has started already, so I'm going to go along with a write that down that I think I also predicted last year and came off the board in, as KO would say, a red pen session. The tush push will be banned this offseason. So the Green Bay Packers, who fully admit that they don't do well against it, have submitted that it be examined, and if that happens, it can be eliminated. They need, I believe, 24 of the 32 teams must vote against it. But the reality is this: there's not a lot of teams that are good at it. Philadelphia is great. Buffalo's great, but the Buffalo thing's really weird. Like, your quarterback's a horse. Like I don't even think he needs a tush push. He can just kill people going forward. So, but I'm going to continue to go along with, I think it does get axed out this offseason.
Nick Sirianni with an impassioned plea.
Yeah, you know what? Screw you, Nick.
Well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong because, hey, this is a legal play, and we spend a ton of time building our team and practicing for that. It's smart. Let's go get a bunch of ridiculously big offensive linemen and
Yep.
let's have a quarterback that can pull this off. And they've you could argue that they don't get to 2 Super Bowls and win one in the last 3 years without that play.
The problem with that play is, I think what we're going to see is the potential for concussions
It's
because of how it's done. But I mean, that's what they're going to point to. Like, if you are coming in to get it eliminated, what you're going to say is, Roger, don't you care about concussions? Don't you care about?
But has it led to an uptick in concussions?
They'll prove it did. They'll find it. Yeah, that's what they do. They'll find any like shred, and then we'll get rid of the damn play. You know what? I didn't mind it when guys would once in a while, but this whole thing of it's a formation to me, come on.
I mean, I get it. It's boring. It's inevitable that you're going to get a first down. So I understand the frustration from a fan standpoint, but it's also really hard. Okay, so what is the rule change? You can't push players from behind, because they had that in play for a long time, and it was like, well, guys are just in piles all the time, and
yep,
you're blocking someone, and it is hard to police.
I would say this: make the formation illegal. That you cannot be right behind, because if you look at it, the formation is very like that's a formation that you don't have to hide. So it's a schemed up from the moment that you get to the line of scrimmage. So couldn't you run a tight end in motion then to get around it? And then, the ball snapped, and my tight end's right behind me now. There's ways to get around the formation thing too, aren't there? Then I'd continue to change it. I'd continue to change it until I can get rid of that damn play, Nick Sirianni. And I'm like this. Screw you.
I feel like everyone's being kind of soft, but all right, Dex.
I agree. Let's make some combine predictions. Write this down. At least 3 players will run a sub 4.3 40. So last year there was only 2 that did it. I think I also made this exact prediction last year, and I fell short. So I'm gonna re-rack it again. So 3 players will run sub 4.3 40s. Write it down.
Okay. All right.
Write this down.
This is a check down, but no one's predicted this yet, I don't think. Ed Ingram will not be on the Vikings roster for week 1 of the 2025 NFL season. I actually can't believe no one has predicted this one yet, but we've had it in every single iteration of our, speaking of offseason blueprint, boy, despite a 2-minute disclaimer on yesterday's 5.0 saying we wouldn't do this.
Yeah, I told you guys not to do it.
And you might be triggered. Oh boy, people were way more triggered than even we thought in the comments.
Told you guys not to do it. I pleaded with you all last week. Don't do it. Don't do it. But you're like, no, 2-1's the vote. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do?
We'll read some of the comments on Feedback Friday.
Write this down.
Okay, back to Cade for your second prediction.
All right. So instead of your blueprint, I believe JJ McCarthy in his first full season. I don't want to get gypped if he sits the last game. So in his first full season, he's going to beat the Bears rookie record for passing yards and touchdowns. So Will Williams just set that, and I think JJ McCarthy's going to go above that. I think it's 3,500 yards and 20 touchdowns.
So for full season, we have to quantify that one, because if he plays 15 games, is that a full season? Or are you saying the first time he plays all 17 games, he will?
So that's what I think 16 is kind of where I'm getting at, because maybe he doesn't start week 1 for political purposes, and maybe he sits week 17. I don't if something like that. So I would say 16, because but that also leaves room if he doesn't play this year, his first full season.
What if we, and you can reject this if you want, what if we said in his first 17 games as a starter? So then if he starts 5 and then 12 or something, in his first 17 games as a starter, he will.
His first 17 games.
Okay. Then it's easier to quantify, and you'll probably get the point, because he is going to rack up a lot of yards.
I think he's going to blow it out of water.
Yeah. The Bears, man, it's hilarious. I think Caleb's going to be, he's not going to be a bust, but man, they're all excited, and he's throwing for 90 yards in some of these games, running for his life, getting sacked 100 times. Judd, what is your second prediction?
Georgia wide receiver Arian Smith will run the fastest 40-yard dash at the combine this week. High school track and field stud. He was a stud in he's certainly not in the upper echelon of receivers, but you don't need that. You don't need that. You just need to be fast. And this kid is. So he's going to run the fastest 40-yard dash at the combine.
All right.
Write this down.
Dex.
I'll make another one. Write this down on the combine. Someone will break the record for the fastest 3-cone drill at this year's combine. So the fastest time is 6.555. That is the fastest combine 3-cone drill. By the way, DraftKings has even money on it being yes or no.
Oh, so DraftKings has like a section for the combine. Huh? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to say someone breaks the 3-cone drill time of 6.555. Cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan, I heard, he ran a 6.57 at his summer pro day last year or something. So he's one to watch to do it. Someone's going to break it this year. Write it down.
Wow, are you gonna be glued to the combine? Just the 3-cone drill for like 4 hours on Saturday, waiting for someone.
I'm gonna turn on combine. It's gonna be the great background noise for the next 4 days. I'm very excited for this.
Wow,
very excited.
The NFL Network chimes just all over the place. Look at this! I've got the NFL feed open right now, just in case things happen. Josina Anderson says just ran into cornerback Stephon Gilmore, who's in town for a meeting at the NFL Combine. What kind of meeting? Is he coming back? Is he going to be a coach?
I think he's going to retire. So yes,
doing at the Combine. Huh?
He could be a coach.
I hope he comes back. I think he's still got some gas in the tank. Let's go with this one. Write this down.
Write this down.
The Minnesota Vikings. So right now, like last year, their 3 main running backs were Cam Akers, Aaron Jones, and Ty Chandler. And so write this down. 2 players who were not on the Vikings roster last year will be in the top 3 in rushing attempts for the 2025 Vikings. So like if they draft someone, and just an example, they draft someone, they sign J.K. Dobbins, and they bring back Cam Akers and say goodbye to Aaron Jones, and the 2 new guys are in the top 3 in rushing attempts, then I get a point. So I'm basically saying they're going to, or they draft 2 guys, they keep Cam or Aaron Jones, and the 2 drafted guys are getting run. I'm basically saying there's going to be a major shakeup of the running back room, and they will bring in 2 guys who get some lion's share of the carries. Okay.
Write this down.
All right, we're back to Cade, third and final prediction.
All right, so Mackie, kind of similar to yours. It's a bit of a parlay. So the Vikings will draft a running back who in the upcoming season will have more explosive plays than Aaron Jones had last year. And I think that PFF gave him 25.
Okay.
So he'll have more explosive plays. The Vikings as an overall team are going to have a higher offensive success rate. I think they were 18th in the league. Off the record, I think they're going to be top 10, but they're going to have a higher offensive rushing success rate. And the Vikings offense will have more rushing touchdowns in 2025. So
we are going to have a little tease for the Purple Daily NFL Takes episode. We have a Vikings related topic we're actually going to lead that show with. They signed a new assistant offensive line coach who's been like a run game coordinator that let's just say he's going to bring some toughness to that room that might even be controversial. There's some players who he has coached in the last few years that are not too high on him, but like Robert Saleh and Kevin O'Connell have spoken very highly of him. So we'll get into that. But hey, if he comes in and ruffles some feathers, but the run game is better, whatever. Let's get it on.
Cade love B-Flow, so
yeah, I mean B-Flow can be hard on guys.
Yeah.
Let's quit being soft around here. Let's tush push.
Tush push.
Yeah, you should be advocating for a team that can't score a touchdown to save its life inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah,
you're trying to eliminate ways to score touchdowns on the ground.
It's a boring play. I'm trying to spice up the game. It's a boring play.
SAWFT.
Getting his ass pushed so he can, you know what, get the first down yourself. If you're so strong, get the first down yourself. The Buffalo thing drives me crazy too. We need someone to push this 6'6" monster quarterback. Give me a break.
I would greenlight just like a weekly spin-off podcast where Judd rants about random things in the NFL. Just maybe that's what Purple Daily NFL takes can be. So, all right, Cade, you've got this life-altering platform here right now on Purple Daily. Is there anyone you'd like to thank that helped you get to this moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for making it easy for somebody in upstate New York to stay connected and teaching me basically about what football is. And then thank you to my awesome girlfriend. I sucked her into the Vikings fandomness this year. And for my birthday, she brought me to my first ever Vikings game at MetLife Stadium against the Giants. That was awesome. She took a video of Aaron Jones touchdown, thought it was going to be different, new running offense. Nope. But she was awesome. And thankful for her. Thankful for my cousin Dawson, who's a Bears fan, for the inspiration, just because I wanted to rub it in his face.
Yeah.
And then thank you to my high school soccer team for getting me into fantasy football.
Love it, man. Cade, great work here today, and hopefully we see you again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Appreciate it so much.
All right. Take care, Cade. Yep. Cade I think Cade just became the most unique how did you get hooked on the Vikings story. The fact that Jerick McKinnon was randomly on his fantasy team. So it's one of my favorite stories.
That's cool. The amazing thing too is the amount of Vikings fans from outside the state who have never been to the state and how they adopted the team. I love those stories are great because it's like these random. I like the Vikings because of purple. I like the Vikings because my high school soccer team and I drafted Jerick McKinnon. Those are awesome stories.
Yeah. Maybe while Cade is in the Twin Cities, he can visit the folks at MSP Plumbing, shake the hands of the people that are helping with our pipes and heating and whatnot.
Absolutely. So yesterday, knock on the door, MSP Plumbing, Heating and Air sent out Joe. Joe walks into my house and the first thing he says,
you answered the
door. Joe walks in and is like, I know exactly who you are. I drive around listening to PD. I'm like, that's great. Joe goes downstairs and examines my furnace. And I'm going to tell you right now, number one, we talked Vikings. Number two, Joe's telling me about, this and that. And at one point says, I don't want to assume that you don't know about what we're checking out right here. And I said, Joe, I have no idea. Quick thing too, there was a problem with my furnace this winter. I called the original company out. They came out and the guy poked and prodded and said, I don't really know. I can't tell you unless it's not working. Joe says, oh, here's the problem. Fixed it instantly. That's because these people gain your trust. And if Sports Dad lets you in his house, that means that their trust is impeccable. Also, they are right now giving away a free furnace in the month of February. Book a $49 furnace tune-up, and you'll be entered to win that free furnace. You must book the tune-up this month to be entered. For service, call them 651-615-4292 or check them out. Call MSP.com. Call MSP.com. Guys like Joe are building trust every day for MSP, and they're doing great work.
Blackstack building trust as well with just great beer. That's the simplest way I can put it. In fact, Blackstack is for hardcore, knowledgeable beer drinkers. You've probably known about Blackstack for a long time. If we're introducing you to Blackstack, world-renowned beer makers. But if maybe you're new and maybe we are introducing you to Blackstack, they have one of the coolest, biggest tap rooms in the state of Minnesota. And it made a cameo on the Netflix Love is Blind, I think it was episode 7, I want to say, one of the ones that dropped over the weekend. And so if you saw that, you see how cool it is inside that Blackstack tap room. Stop, and there's a 190-inch big screen TV where they've got stuff playing all the time. They've got food trucks and pop-ups on a regular basis. And you can find their beer all over the state of Minnesota, expanded distribution into Wisconsin, Nebraska, and South Dakota. So check them out, blackstackbrewing.com, the where to buy page to find out more. And then a shout out too to Federated Insurance, who's helping to keep Purple Daily a 7-day-a-week show here, even during the off season. But this is sometimes the most fun part of the entire calendar year, the speculation season. What could my team look like in the next 2 or 3 months? As a business owner, you want to make sure you have a game plan in place to stay focused on safety and preventing claims, risk management. That's where Federated comes in. They elevate your business through risk management. so you can stay focused on growing your business. Find out more about this 100-plus-year-old incredible company at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours.
Write this down. Write it down. You like writing things down.
Okay, what's your final prediction here, Judd?
All right, when it's all said and done, you can write this down. Matthew Stafford will be back with the Rams. I've decided he's going to be back with the Rams. I think he's going to go out, shop himself. Now, the Giants thing is is intriguing, but I think he's going to shop himself. I think the Rams want him back. I think McVay loves him, but I think there's probably a reality check as well. So I'm just going to hedge my bets here and say he's going to be back with the Rams now.
It's funny, they're like allowing him to go date other people for a minute.
Exactly. That's exactly. They're going to find out that they're in love. That it's truly, you know what, you go and if you fly away, you weren't ours. But I think he
fly
comes
away
back.
and don't come back.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a breakup though. That's what's weird. It feels like, you know what, timeout. They're taking a timeout.
Write this down.
Maybe they're going to introduce somebody new to their marriage. Maybe the. Wait, could it be cool if the Giants are also involved in our football marriage? I don't know. Dex, what's your final prediction?
All right, write this down. At some point in the year of 2025, it will be announced that US Bank Stadium will host a future combine or the NFL draft. So right now, the 2026 draft is already booked for Pittsburgh. They typically announce this in May. I believe the Minneapolis Sports or whoever, I forget the commission that owns US Bank Stadium because I think it's separate from MSE. But she was on the record with Front Office Sports saying they have had conversations about hosting combines or hosting the draft. At some point this year, we'll get announcement that they will be hosting one of those two events. Write it down.
So are they really thinking about moving the combine out of Indianapolis?
They've been talking about it for 4 years now. They keep talking about it, but it's perfect. It's a centralized location in a city that does conventions really well. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is, so the draft is sexy, right? Because it's an event. Like you got events around the draft. Like you could do something in Eagan and downtown. And the combine isn't really an event for fans.
No, because fans can't sit in the stadium and watch the 3-cone drill, right?
Yeah,
it's only scouts and team personnel. It's
a good convention, but the draft is a splash.
There's a reason why the NFL has drawn. I mean, the NFL will milk anything for revenue. They have drawn a line at selling tickets to the combine, but it's several days of mostly just boring and benign drills. Where here is a cavalcade of offensive guards going seeing how high they can jump But if you opened up ticket sales for the NFL Combine over a 4-day period,
yes,
you would sell out all 4 days. Wouldn't you? People would pay $500 to watch.
It says fans can go. On the Indianapolis Star.
Workouts?
Yeah, it says fans.
No, I don't. The stadium is empty during the.
It's got coaches, but that's about it, I thought.
It says, where did I just have this? Sorry. Scouting
Unless
combine.
that's changed.
Start times.
Yeah. It's got start times and it's got TV coverage. And it's a great convention. So it would bring people in, but it's just not the splash event that the draft is. But
it says
I do think we'll get a draft eventually.
So there's combine experience gates. That's from 1 to 7.
Yeah, that's
inside look gates from 1 to 9, and then drills begin at 3. So I wonder if it's there's sections of you can go to the combine experience, but maybe you can't watch the drills. Is that what it is?
I mean, unless that has changed very recently, it is only football personnel people that are allowed to go watch the actual drills.
Yeah, I think what they do now probably is have hey, you can go run the 3-cone drill at this site. It's a different site,
So fans can watch workouts and attend the combine experience where they can meet NFL legends and take part in interactive fan festival. To attend, go to NFL.com/open, download the pass, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's we'll bring in player Joey Browner's here. And then you can go run the 3-cone drill. And it's really, really exciting. But they've been talking about it they at one point talked about it being in California. But the problem is again now, so if you're the Giants or the Jets, right, you have to fly 6 hours across the country. And Indy's the perfect place for it. Just leave it there.
Yeah.
The draft will get eventually.
Yeah, the draft. If you're going to hold the draft at Lambeau Field in Green Bay,
Yeah.
you can hold the draft at Minneapolis in terms of logistics, and it's a nightmare to hold big events in Green Bay because there's not enough hotels, there's not enough.
Right.
The amount of money that people can make off of their houses for like Airbnbs
You
and
gotta
stuff.
stay in
is gonna be
Wausau
crazy.
and stuff.
Yeah, I guess you could stay in Milwaukee and drive up, but all right,
Write this down.
Declan, your final prediction.
I went. You're going.
Okay, my final prediction. Write this down.
Very Judd-like of you there, Phil.
Well, we went on like a 5-minute
Went a
side street
combine,
there
yeah.
trying to look up if you could buy tickets to the combine now.
Looks like you can.
People are underplaying how much money Sam Darnold is going to make in free agency because the freshness of how badly he played in those last 2 games was just stuck in people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we're a month and a half removed from those 2 epic collapsing games, and you're looking at the body of work of a former top 5 overall pick and the 35 touchdowns, the 4,000 yards, he's going to make more money than people think. So I'm going to say this. Matthew. I keep mixing up Matthew Stafford
Keep
and
making
Sam
it
Darnold.
up. Yeah. Kind of funny.
Declan hates it every time I do it.
I can't laugh at you for that because I do the same stuff. I
Darnold.
say Sam Bradford instead of that. I get those two confused.
No
so-
blinks.
No, no.
Sam
Yeah.
Darnold's contract will pay him at least $45 million a year, average annual value. It's
Okay.
not gonna be a Baker Mayfield situation. It's gonna be a $45+ million a year, average annual value contract. So, all right, those are the
Write
predictions.
this down.
Write that down.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
Every single week. The only show that has the stones enough to put statistics next to our predictions. Okay, I'm gonna play you guys a clip here from yesterday. Ian Rappaport on the NFL Network Insider Show. Our guy Tom Pelissero was in this conversation, and then there's 4 NFL insiders kicking it around on NFL Network, and they get to a Sam Darnold portion of the conversation. This clip is 58 seconds long, so sit tight here. But I think he essentially confirmed that the Vikings are going to franchise tag Darnold. You tell me if that's an overreaction by me.
It seems to me, based on my conversations, that in this offseason of the quarterbacks available, Sam Darnold seems to be the best, right? I mean, you could sort of argue Matthew Stafford, who's a little older, but Darnold seems to be the dude. The Vikings have him. So if they want to have him be their starter, they can do that. That's not that hard. They could tag him or they could reach a new deal based around the tag. If they want to have J.J. McCarthy be their starter, they are in an unbelievable position of just being able to hold on to the guy and say, you want to get him? Come get him. And we haven't seen this a lot, but for the Vikings, it's like, we'll talk about, they had a good free agent and he goes to somewhere else and he signs for a lot of money. They get a comp pick, a third rounder in a couple years. This is like that, but accelerated. It's like comp pick plus. Amazing situations for the Vikings. If they're comfortable enough with J.J. McCarthy to be their guy, they can just auction off Sam Darnold and go, come pay for it.
Now, these guys, the Ian Rappaports, they don't just like float stuff. They base everything they say off of things they are told. They trade in information. And he started that 58-second clip by saying, based on the conversations I've been having, and he kind of winds his way over to, if they decide on J.J. McCarthy as the starting quarterback, then he kind of makes it into be like a hypothetical. But again, these guys don't do hypotheticals. These guys, they report in clever ways.
Yep.
Sometimes they come out and say, a source told me X, Y, Z.
Right.
If they don't feel like doing if it's not like an ironclad enough situation, then they will pontificate. But it's all rooted in things they're being told. And he said right there, if the Vikings feel like they are comfortable with J.J. McCarthy, then they are in a great position to leverage Sam Darnold. And he said it would be like, if you let a guy walk in free agency, you might get a third-round comp pick in a year and a half from now. This would be an accelerated version of that, meaning the franchise tag and trade, where it would be like comp pick value plus, and we could debate what he meant by that. Sure. I took this as a strong lean in the direction of Vikings tagging and trading Sam Darnold in the next few weeks.
So I'll say this. The Rappaports of the world definitely trade in information, and they also trade in favors. So, in my opinion, look, I don't remember a storyline that the Vikings have telegraphed to the entire world this clearly since 2009, first round of the draft, when they basically said, if Percy Harvin is there, we're taking him. He was. They took him. But, ordinarily there's some vagueness, right? And there's a real attempt to sort of like take you on the wrong path. The J.J. McCarthy decision is clearly done. He's the starting quarterback. Like, I think it is beyond clear. And by the way, a miracle of God, he's gained weight back. How did this young man gain weight back? Oh my God, he looked so thin before.
That was the dumbest non-story in recent Vikings history.
Thank you very much.
A professional athlete needs to put on 20 pounds of weight in 9 months. Yeah.
Did we think he lost weight because like he got down in the dauber? Like they told him, we're going to take your weight down and now we're going to get it back up. And shockingly, in pro sports, guys can gain weight and lose it very, very quickly. But anyway, I think what Rappaport is doing here is he is saying what the Vikings want to do. Like, I think he's talked to, and it's fine, but I think he's talked to the Vikings. I think the Vikings' goal, and this week will decide the last stage, which is, can we franchise Darnold, get him to play along, and trade him? But I mean, this whole thing about McCarthy, like, the one thing O'Connell is doing consistently is every time he talks about Sam, it's past tense. I was so proud of how I was proud to be part of his journey. Like, there's nothing about like, now he will not, when you ask him, oh, so Sam's done. He's like, oh, no, I didn't say that. But every time he talks about him, he's talking about him like he is elsewhere already. Yeah. So I think Rappaport is doing his job of having talked to the Vikings. And I think the Vikings are very much, because if as we've discussed this a bunch, but if you're the Vikings, you would love that, right? Like, if you can franchise him, he plays along, you play two teams off, you get a third round pick immediately in a draft, by the way, in which you don't have lots of picks. It's ideal. So I think that this is pretty much clear cut of what the Vikings want to do. I think Ian is saying that. And I think the only question now is, can you leave the combine confident that if you franchise him by March 4th, you're going to have enough action to trade him?
Yeah. And again, like, you look at the supply and demand of this situation is not going to change over the next few weeks. And even if Cousins becomes available and, Rodgers could sign somewhere, Darnold, Stafford's the best short-term option at quarterback. If you just want the best quarterback, the most reliable option to help you win games in 2025, Matthew Stafford would be that. But Matthew Stafford likely has a limited list of where he would even consider green lighting. Like, I'm assuming he wants to get paid, but also win at a high level.
Right.
That's why I question the Giants a little. It's like, does he really think that he can win big with this Giants team? It kind of feels like Rams and Vikings would be.
Do you think he wants, because I can't decide, does he want to go like, first of all, is he just simply playing chicken with the Rams, which is sort of possible.
So. Yeah.
Or, and that's fine if that's the case. But I guess my question is, let's say it's not the case. Let's say that the Rams are like, okay, we're done. Does he want to make $50 million or does he want to win? Because I don't know, both are possible.
Yeah. And I do feel like it's leverage to go back to the Rams, which furthers my point of Darnold is the option. If you're looking for a longer term 3 or 4 year deal, a guy that was highly regarded when he was drafted and finally broke out, and the Steelers, the Raiders, maybe even the Giants and the Titans at the top of the draft, if they don't love the two quarterbacks that everyone's talking about in the draft, the supply and demand, absolutely skewed supply and demand situation here should really be pressure on the Vikings to get value for Darnold. I said it a couple days ago on the show. I think it would be malpractice to not turn this into something. To find a way at the combine this week to get your two teams, maybe your three teams, into kind of a bidding war and respectfully include the quarterback. Like, you're not going to send him to Cleveland if he doesn't want to go to, but
right.
Because he also doesn't have to sign a contract in Cleveland. So he has some leverage in who he would even sign a long-term contract with. But
right.
Yeah, it feels like we're only partially the way through this story of what's going to happen. And there's going to be a lot more conversations behind the scenes the next few days. There's probably going to be more reporting over the weekend, Sunday into Monday, based on what gets talked about in the next 72 hours.
I tend to agree with your point with your last prediction. I think he gets paid, okay? I think the issue with those last two games is what is the competitive market now? So I think he gets paid on the open market. I think those last two games create at least a little bit of a question on what are teams willing to give up to get the exclusive rights to negotiate with him. So I think that's where the end at least plays a role here. And I think what the Vikings are hoping for is, because if you can get Darnold to buy into going to the Raiders or Steelers, and those two teams are in, then you're in pretty good shape.
I'll tell you this, $45 million a year might actually be conservative based on a couple other factors. The cap just went up $25 million from where it was last year. It looks like it's going to skyrocket again in 3 years when Netflix puts in a bigger bid and the TV contracts are up. And also, Tua makes $53 million a year and can't stay on the field. Trevor Lawrence has the same career passer rating as Gardner Minshew, and he makes $55 million a year. Yeah, but he was a former top. So was Sam Darnold. He was a former top 3 overall pick. Jordan Love makes $55 million a year. Sam Darnold is and by the way, Jordan Love made $55 million a year off of one, maybe even half of a good season. Darnold put together a better full body of work than Jordan Love did going into his payday. So, dude, I just don't be sticker price shocked when he gets $50 million a year from the Raiders or somebody here in the next couple weeks.
I actually think it's easier to write Sam the check than it is to give up the compensation the Vikings would like. I think the check, because of all the things that you just pointed out, Phil, I think the check is okay, that's a lot, but then it's okay, the Vikings have now slapped the franchise tag on him, which to me which you would probably want a 3rd round pick at the very least. And so I actually think the negotiating price with the Vikings would be more of a sticking point than the actual check to write to Sam Darnold.
And I don't even know if I agree with that, because the Raiders have 10 draft picks this year, including a second, they're not going to get the 6th overall pick in a tag and trade. But
No.
Could you get their 68th pick or the 68th pick and one of their 3 6th rounders? The Steelers have 8 draft picks, a 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd, 4th, a 5th. All right, Steelers, you're desperate. So you pay him $45 million a year and give us your 3rd round pick right now and maybe one of your 7ths or something.
Yeah. Do it.
So let's make it happen here. All right. There's a little reckless speculation for the road for you guys. And definitely don't forget to drop your negative comments in the 5.0 Blueprint episode on the Purple Daily YouTube channel from yesterday. We will read some of them on Feedback Friday. Those of you who at least didn't bail on the show forever because we traded J.J. McCarthy. And the OG edition of Write That Down over on the Score North YouTube channel, and Mackie and Judd. We'll see you over there, too. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. Come on.